What up, everybody? Sodomike here today. Looks like we have patch notes. This is going to be a video about the 2nd June alpha patch notes for New World. Let's take a look. Alright, let's take a look. I have not read these yet, so we will be going through them together. Let's dive in. I'm stoked. How long are they, first of all? Oh, I was gonna say no images, but we got some images. As usual, pretty long. Probably not as long as the previous ones, but not bad. So yeah, this is the June alpha update. They did it in 2 parts. I did a video on part 1. If you want to check it out, it's on my channel. And I've also done a bunch of previous patch notes if you want to look at those. But yeah, let's dive in. So these patch notes again, they should just be balance fixes and bugs and things. So not expecting a ton of changes outside of balance, but I guess we'll find out. Added two new types of PvE faction missions, Assassinate and Elite. So that's cool. They're probably going to have some quests specifically for elites. I like that because it'll actually help you identify where the elites are. Assassinate missions challenge players to take out specific high threat foes. Interesting. So those would be like the big world bosses and stuff. I fought a couple of those in the preview event, and they were pretty tough. Elite missions send players to take on Eternum's most dangerous villains and their minions. These missions are higher difficulty with higher reward. It's recommended that you bring a friend. Cool. I like that. Alright, polish territory quests with updates to tracker text and map pins. Okay, so that's a polished item. Reduced weight cost of Azoth fast travel. Interesting. So your weight is not going to impact you as much for an Azoth cost. That's a nice change. You can travel a little bit more often without hating yourself for being overweight. Invasion rewards are now tied directly to a player's scoreboard score. Oh, I was hoping they were going to do this. That's awesome. Except I've never tried an invasion. So invasions are when you own, or your guild rather owns a castle and the NPC mobs are attacking it and you get to like defend it. So that's cool. I like that they have a scoreboard in general. I hope more of the PvP stuff has that kind of thing. I think that would be great, like kills minus deaths or something. That'd be cool. War Declaration update. War Declaration has been updated to reward the most active companies in the influence race with a higher chance of being selected as the vanguard. Okay. Updated to reward the most active companies. What does that have to do with declaration? War Declaration has been updated to reward the most active companies in the influence race. I wonder if they've changed this. Because before how it worked was if your company owned the territory, you were automatically the vanguard, were you not? I think you were. It was the company owner, and they got to choose who would come with them. So it seems like they might select the highest active company. I wonder how that's going to work. Like, could you hold territory and then like not even be allowed to defend it? That would be super weird. Selected as the vanguard. Vanguard just means front line. So the primary defender, I would say. Interesting. They must have changed that somewhere along the way and not actually let us know, because this is some kind of a change from a change that they haven't said anything about. Alright, well, we'll have to see how that one plays out. All companies in a faction are no longer eligible to declare war when a territory is thrown into a conflict state. To be eligible, a company must have contributed at least 10% of the total influence required to throw the territory into conflict. In the unlikely event that no company contributes over 10%, any company will be eligible to declare war. The war declaration button now indicates a company's eligibility. Okay. So this is saying that just because a faction has thrown a territory into a possible contested state, and you are part of that faction, you cannot just go and declare war there. You have to have actually been involved in changing the influence. So your question is probably, how do you change the influence? So you go into an enemy's area and you start doing quests and things there, and there's actually a tracker on the map that shows like the influence amount. Once it gets to a certain point, it becomes contested, and then you can declare war. So previously, anyone in that faction could do it. Now it's only people who have actually been doing the quest and stuff. So it looks like they're trying to get more balance from a company standpoint. So instead of like faction to faction balance, they're doing company to company, which I think is probably a good thing. We'll see how it plays out. I think it was already going to be polarized towards companies over factions, I think, but um, really strong companies are going to be in high demand. That's how I read this too, because some of the changes from the last couple patches too, with companies getting their own rewards for holding territory and stuff. Having an active company is going to be really important. I hope that they don't like make this super grief heavy, because they did increase the company size, so hopefully it's not. But if the company is more important for activity, there's going to be a lot more micromanaging of like active versus inactive people, and like people getting kicked for being offline for like a day and stuff for like really hardcore companies, which is kind of griefy. I don't really like that too much, but we'll have to see how it plays out. More than one company declares war on the same territory during conflict. The amount of influence a company contributes towards conflict increases its chances to be selected. Okay, that makes sense. Is that the same thing as this? I think that's what this is. So this isn't, I was reading this wrong. I was reading this as the defender. But since it's war declaration, only an attacker can declare war. So that makes sense. So the defender would still be the company that owns the territory. But this is basically saying the same thing as this. The more active you are in the area, the more influence you have, the more chance you are of being the one who actually gets to be the attacker, which is what they're calling the vanguard. And that's important because you become the company that takes over the area if you win. So the vanguard's very important. The rest of the people get loot and stuff and like have some fun, but the vanguard company will be the one that takes over the territory if you're successful. All right, let's get into PvP updates. In a continued effort to support PvP, we've reduced gear's durability loss due to PvP deaths. Sweet. Increased XP for PvP kills. Sweet. And adjusted camp respawn mechanics to make faction control point battles more interesting. Okay, so you're going to be respawning closer to control points, basically what that says. Less running. Players flagged for PvP receive 50% less durability damage to equipment, both equipped and in their backpack, when killed by another player. So it's not going to help you against mobs. Increase the XP received for PvP kills, and added rewards for players that have been alive longer, which they talked about last patch. Killing a player that has been alive for longer than an hour will now reward 4 times the max it used to be. Okay, so this gives us some of, if you watch my previous videos, one of the things I wanted to know was the time frame on, how long someone needed to be alive. I still have a lot of questions about this, by the way, but this helps answer some of it. So what tranche is it for people being alive longer, giving you more experience? This gives us a little bit of an indication. So players that have been alive for an hour, 4 times the max. So the way I read this is they're using that as a benchmark. So being alive for an hour is probably seen as significant. Is that the top tranche? Maybe. It doesn't specifically say that here, but they're using it as a benchmark. I would say it's probably, given that an hour is kind of their upper limit, or seems like one of the more unlikely kills you're going to have here based on this, or more valuable kills anyway. I'm going to guess their tranches are either 10 minutes or 15 minutes, probably, if I had to guess. So if somebody being alive an hour is worth 4 times as much, then somebody being alive 15 minutes is probably worth the same, and somebody alive half an hour is probably 2 times as much, or 45 minutes is 3 times as much, something like that. So that's cool. I like the idea of getting EXP from killing people. It gives you a reason to kill people other than just fun in general. When flagged for PvP, choosing to respawn at a camp activates an incrementally increasing respawn cooldown. Interesting. In what time frame? For each subsequent camp respawn, this cooldown increases. If a player chooses to respawn elsewhere, for instance at a settlement, the cooldown will continue counting down in the background. If the player dies while flagged for PvP while the cooldown is counting down, the time incremental will be added to the current value. This makes respawning at a settlement and running back into the fray a great way for players to lower their camp cooldown. Okay, so they're worried about people putting down their camp right next to like a fight or an expected area, or like they're running into somewhere where there's conflict, building a camp so that when they die, they respawn right next to it. And then they can like get into the action quicker and overthrow people. So they're basically stopping you from doing that. So if you die too much, you're going to have to go back to a settlement, not to your camp. And therefore you cannot just rush in and zerg. So I think that's good. I'm curious what kind of alpha testing led to this change. It's funny. People just like abusing this kind of thing. Doesn't really say what the timelines are. So that would be a question that I would have. I actually want to talk more about the PvP one actually while we're here. So killing a player that's been live for an hour. I feel like unless there's absolute mayhem going on, like an hour isn't too unreasonable. I know when I was playing and like you're questing and stuff, like an hour can go by pretty quick without you running into somebody or somebody who's flagged. I still want to know if if Amazon's watching this. I still want to know if you're automatically unflagged when you go into town, or if your timer for being alive, quote unquote, is paused while you're in town. Because if it's not, like I said in previous videos, you're going to get griefed coming out of town because people just camp town because you've been alive forever in town crafting or whatever, and then you're going to be worth the most. So I don't like that. Or people just unflag themselves when in town and then reflag before they leave, which I also don't want to have to do, and also don't like the idea of people doing. So yeah, tell us about the tranches. Tell us about what the actual rewards are. It would be great to see a chart on this or a graph that says like a player at your level who's been alive for 1 hour is worth X XP. A player at your level who's been alive for 2 hours is worth Y XP or whatever. And I want to know if the town thing impacts it at all. Because you definitely don't want to have people camping towns just to like grief people. So I like that they have a little bit of a hint. It's like an Easter egg. It's like, read into this. But more info here would be good. Alright, let's move on. Progression updates. Reduce the EXP required to level by 20% for all levels after 7. Oh my gosh, so they keep just yo-yoing on this. They just increased it last patch. Now they're reducing it. The increase in the previous update combined with the changes to corrupted breaches reduced the speed of leveling too much. Okay, they're zooming in on it, but they're going pendulums fucking flying everywhere. This change should bring a nice middle ground between what we felt was too fast in May and the overly tuned changes introduced in June. Okay. Alright. Double the amount of EXP from repeatable expedition quests. Well, there's a good way to level, unless the EXP was really bad. Doubled. Town projects have been fixed, improved, and adjusted in a variety of ways. Tune the rewards granted for completing missions. The rewards will now more accurately reflect the level of effort required. Okay. We want quests to give us what they're, what's worth it. We don't want, like, someone min-maxing quests, finding out, like, the absolute best way to grind the quickest. It's about having fun. If you want to go do a quest and it's more difficult than another quest, you should get rewarded equally, right? That way nobody has to sit there and think about, ooh, what quest should I do? Which ones can I do the quickest? Which ones are worth the most? Like, that's not fun. That's work. Like, leave that shit at work. So I like that change. Reduce the amount of required materials to complete town project missions when the items are rare or valuable. Okay. so they're actually doable and don't cost you a fortune. A larger selection of missions are now available for the town upkeep project to bring it in line with other projects. Okay. Um, I like that they're like footnote here. I like that they're messing with and tweaking the town project stuff because when I was playing the preview, like I just avoided those like the plague because they weren't worth it and it was kind of a waste of time. So they're putting the effort in to make these things valuable and worthwhile doing, which is great because I thought it was a cool idea, but it wasn't worth it at the time. So they've gone and updated these like a bunch of times, and I think they're good now. So I like this. Reduce the EXP bonus granted from leveling up territory standing. Okay, so they they heard me in my last video saying they put a cap on this, and so it was like obviously the best one to get always whenever it was available to you when you level up your territory. And now they've reduced it, so maybe it's not as OP anymore. Adjusted the amount of territory standing gained from crafting, as some crafted items could generate disproportionately large amounts of standing. Okay, that's important. That's like a bug fix. You're sitting there like making garbage loot, and you're just getting crazy amounts of town standing. Quests that award specific items should now award items aligned with the intended level of the quest. Well, gee. Thank you, I guess. I mean, that one should have been obvious to you guys. That's the downfall of a lot of games, though. They'll give you a quest that you're doing, and then like you get an item that was like 10 levels below you, and you're like, hey, thanks. So that's good, I guess. Increase trade XP for crafting jewelry. Decrease trade XP for crafting jewelry components. Ah, so here's the people like gaming the system here. They're like, I'm not gonna actually make the entire jewelry piece. I'm just gonna make whatever components I can mass create, and it's like you got a billion chains and you can't even make anything with that, but it gives you EXP. So they've obviously balanced that. So now they want you to say, all right, I'm gonna get the most from completing an actual item, which means I need some of this, some of that, and some of that. So then I'm actually gonna build those three things and then put them together, which is the way crafting should be. Trade skill XP for cutting gems has been increased. Okay. Adjusted harvesting XP to fall more in line with weaving progression. Okay, so they had something similar to this with skinning last patch or the patch before. They just don't want you to outlevel either harvesting and not weaving or vice versa. Adjusted weaving and leatherworking trade skill XP curves to better align with the amount of gathering necessary to achieve a similar level in their respective gathering skills. This is the same thing. So they're just tweaking this so that you don't have like a crazy amount of harvesting and not enough crafting or vice versa. So like you're in an area where you're crafting like or you're skinning high level stuff but you can't actually use it yet in your actual trade skills. So you have to go to a low level and that's annoying. So they fixed that. Okay, loot and gear. We've continued to add much more visual diversity to the in-game weapon and armor sets. Sweet. We like hearing that. Faction heavy tier 5 armor sets have new unique visuals with a different look for each faction. Cool. Lost enemies have been split into lost and drowned type to differentiate the gear that drops from them. Cool. Like, this is the granularity that we love. Like, this is the reason why you delay your game. So now even your one enemy type has now two subsets in it. That's cool. A new set of gear visuals has been applied to armor and weapons dropped by drowned enemies. Yeah, so they already had the lost type. They wanted to add another one, so now they have lost and drowned, which is cool. The breach icon has a new visual look. Fire stabs and tower shields for lost, ancient, corrupted enemy families now have new color schemes to match corresponding enemy family set color. Cool. I think this is gonna be so cool, man. Somebody's gonna be walking at you with like this creepy ass undead tower shield, and you're like, alright, I know where you got that. Lost heavy and medium armor drops have a new look as well in 3 and 4. Updated the visuals on outpost rush weapon, so that's one of the PvP things. So if you get a weapon from there, people will know. And they will fear you, for you are a great PvP player. Added weapon set for Dynasty enemies in the open world. Cool. Another weapon set. Update the visuals on Dynasty Shipyard Expedition weapons. Also good. Added some new armor sets with interesting visuals to the global open world drops. For example, a 17th century beekeeper's outfit. That's great. I can't wait to see what that looks like. Updated visuals for Tier 5 weapons dropped by Elite Angry Earth and Elite Ancient enemies. Man, the Angry Earth, like, I am actually really interested in this. I feel like the Angry Earth guys, like, because there's such endgame content and, like, people don't really see them that often, they kind of get forgotten about. But I feel like some scary ass antler horned axe or something is just gonna murder you. I'm very interested to see what the Angry Earth stuff looks like. Okay, I'm gonna take a breath. We're gonna look at some photos. This guy looks freaking cool. Nice helmet, by the way. Alright, let's check this out. Okay. Like, these all look nothing alike. That's cool. I like that. I think that's the point of this. Whether or not you like the look of them or not is not really where I want to go immediately, but, like, this humanoid woman here over here, she looks absolutely nothing like any of these other guys. And this guy doesn't look anything like this guy. I think I like it. It's got like a they're gonna have a unique style. Like I haven't seen anything that looks too similar to these in other games, really. I don't know. If you think differently, leave me a comment in the comments below. But so far, I think New World does have a unique look to it. Oh, it's just the two photos. Okay. I like this guy's crown. That's pretty badass. And I like this archer guy in the back. Look at that bow. That bow looks rad. He's got kind of like a plate metal armor going on. Oh my god, that's a halfway mark. Alright, let's carry on. Improved expedition drops by increasing the chances that expedition armor and weapons will drop with one more perk than they did previously. Okay. So increase to expedition loot. Sweet. Keep making it worth something. That's good. Clothing and trade skill related perks can now be found at elite points of interest in endgame areas. Okay. We knew that already. Clothing with trade skill related perks. Maybe it's the in endgame areas part that was missing. So they've added some like ultra high tier trade skill clothing. I like that. Looking forward to being a top crafter. Increased special drops from expeditions and elite points of interest. We want to ensure that players feel rewarded for defeating some of the most dangerous enemies in Eternum. Yeah, I'd say that's the most important part of your entire game, actually. Uh, in any MMORPG, you don't want to spend 3 hours taking down somebody and being like, well, that loot wasn't worth it. See you guys next week. Right? So that's good. Significantly increase the drop chance of named items from bosses and mini bosses. Significantly. So that's like someone in your party is going to get one every time. That's the way I don't know. I'm just guessing, but that's if it's significant, I would say at least one party member gets one every time. Hopefully more on the actual big boss. Add more equipment roles to elite point of interest chests and adjust the drop rates of other contents of elite chests. Okay. So more equipment roles. More variety, then, I would say. I like that. I like variety. I know there's a bunch of min-maxers out there who just want to have like the best gear in like a week. That's not me. I mean, I'm an old Ashran's Call player. If it takes me 3 years to get what I want, I'm happy because it gave me 3 years of fun to play. If I get everything I want in a month, then I'm going to be very disappointed because these games don't come along very often. But everybody's different on that. I get it. Expedition bosses will drop a wider variety and higher quantity of loot when defeated. Sweet. Again, awesome. Too many games you're grinding a guy for a specific item and he doesn't really drop anything else. That's boring in my opinion. You know, like now you're going to have a reason to go in there. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff that you can find. Then you're going to want to replay it, and there's replayability. And you and your friends can just go run a couple dungeons every weekend or whatever, even if you did it last weekend. There's nothing worse than having content in your game that people only get to play once and then it sucks, or a couple of times, or like I mentioned above, do it over and over but aren't getting anything from it. So this is a nice combination of you can replay our dungeons and they're going to be worth it. Increased drop rate for some named enemies. Okay. Slightly increase the drop rate of items on the global named items list. Okay. So in case you're wondering what that is, global named items. Global just means it can be dropped from anyone, anywhere, at any time. So there's going to be some items that you don't go to a specific place to get. You're just going to be grinding and killing shit, and eventually you're going to get it. Or if you don't want to wait, you trade for it. So I think that's really cool. It's a nice flavor piece. It's like if you're grinding even the most basic mob because you're like half asleep or watching a movie or something, you have a chance at finding a cool item that's significant. I like that. I think it's really nice. You're going to be, wait till this happens to you. You're just going to be killing stuff and you're going to find something great. And you're going to be like, sweet, world drop. Yeah, it's cool. I like that. At least one gear drop from an expedition boss will guarantee a gear score increase, provided the boss is powerful enough to grant on it. Wait, enough to grant on in the first place? Do I not know how to read, or is that just really poor grammar? Oh, this should say one. At least one gear drop from an expedition boss will guarantee a gear score increase, provided the boss is powerful enough to grant one in the first place. They just missed the E on that. So, a gear score increase for whom? For everyone? So this is saying that if you kill an expedition boss, they're going to give you something that's better than what you already have. Which is a really interesting mechanic. How do they, like, what kind of mechanic is going on here to know what gear score you have? Is it your entire party's gear score, or is it every individual person's gear score? Because the loot is individual. That's interesting. I mean, long story short, unless you're grinding an expedition boss that's way below your level, you should be happy at the end of the expedition. Purely from gear score. Like, obviously, there's going to be some variability in there where you're having like a high gear score but like kind of meh stats versus high gear score and like amazing synergy and stuff. Um, but yeah, I wish they had elaborated on that. I'm very curious about how that works and what determines the boss being powerful enough to grant one in the first place. If you've been playing alpha and you want to let me know, put in the comments. Long story short, I like this. I mean, that's cool. It's like we're not going to waste your time, right? Like you will enjoy your experience and you will be rewarded for killing the boss. And please come again. Like, just makes you want to go kill stuff. Crafted and drop armor can now roll skill perks. Interesting. So they introduced these skill perks where, like, if you're using split shot on your bow, some of your gear can have something that does something to it, makes it do more damage or whatever. So now it's actually going to work on crafted armor as well. So that's interesting. I would love to see a table of the potential skill perks. That's probably a really big table because there's a ton of skills in this game for each weapon. Off the top of my head, I think it's 3 per side, and there's probably no exceptions to that I can think of. So you've got 6 skills per weapon type, and there's something like 10 or 11 weapons in the game. So if you have like 60 different skills times, I don't know, 5 perks, 3 perks for each, it's a lot of perks. It's gonna. It reminds me of it reminds me of Path of Exile, trying to get your helm tank first of all, you have to hit the skill that you want it, and then within that skill, there's like 3 or 4 options. That should be interesting. But like I say, you want like that's the glory of the game. Like you're gonna be scouring the marketplace, trying to find somebody who has the pants with the right rolls on them for you or whatever, or find them yourselves. It's cool. Players can now salvage gear they receive as drops into gold and repair parts. This will provide a great new source of income for players and ensure all drops have a base value. Resources gained from salvaging item drops have been removed. Cool. I like that, especially the repair parts thing. The one issue that I had with the repair feature in this game was if you're out in the world getting slaughtered or like just having fun, your stuff breaks and then you run out of repair parts and then you can't actually play anymore. You have to go to town. So taking some drops you found and salvaging them for that is kind of cool. We changed this to better balance salvage, and we felt this gave much needed boost to the value of gathering and refining. We want rewards. We want to reward players who level up their trade skills, and previously it was too easy to get high-end materials by killing enemies and salvaging the gear. Okay, there's the. I hadn't even thought about that. Interesting. So you're not getting resources anymore when you salvage, which is what it was before. Um, so don't skip the nodes, even if your friends are yelling at you. Go harvest them, because it's the only way to get stuff now is harvesting. Crafted trinkets now salvage into a lower tier. I think we need that. Raw versions of the gem used to craft them to better fit a change that enables any tier of trinket to use any tier of components to craft it. It's a quality of life thing that's nice. So when you salvage something that's crafted, it's going to turn into the raw versions of stuff, and you can reuse that for other things. So yeah, it's not a waste of time. It's not like something you don't need. It's nice. In an effort to tune the gold economy, we have made some changes to the faction shops. Removed family coatings from the faction shop, which changes the emphasis on acquiring them to crafting. So you have to craft them. You can't just buy them. Okay. Added a special set of items to the faction shop that enables players to change the attributes on their faction equipment to a selection of different allocations. Now that's interesting. Why would you buy it? Like, is it when you buy an item in the faction shop, does it already have specific stats on it, and it may not be the ones you want? Are they random? Uh, so if you're changing attributes on your faction equipment, what that means is you're going to spend some money to like have that piece of gear with different roles. But I don't remember how they're sold. I think they have set rules on them. So it's very interesting. I wonder what kind of things you can change them to. Like this might be really worthwhile. I'm guessing that if I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this, but if you're buying something in the faction shop, it might be like base stats, like constitution and stuff that everybody can use. And then maybe you want to use that faction item, but you want to spend some money and make it something more in line with your build. Maybe that's what this is. It'll be interesting to test. I can't wait. Prices of all faction shop items have been adjusted to align with updated currency rates. Adjusted. Oh, Amazon. This is like, it's a good thing we don't have a drinking game. If we had a drinking game for patch notes, it would be take a shot every time they use the word adjusted, because they like that word a lot. Adjusted. No indication of whether that's up or down, just adjusted. Uh, Honestly, whenever I see that word, I just assume it's a nerf. Everything's price went up. That's that's what I think adjusted means in this case. All right, we'll stop harping on them for their adjusted. We'll keep going here. Updated epic armor quests by adding the ability to upgrade several pieces of special armor granted as quest rewards in the mid to late game. That's cool. What? This is sweet. The requirements for earning sets in existing quests are spread out across 15 levels. At the end of each quest, players are now granted the means to upgrade the lower level armor pieces to the power level of the final piece. Awesome. Okay. I was wondering about this. I think a lot of people were wondering about this. When you get close to the end of the game, you start going on all these quests to give you your like end game set. The problem is they're based on your levels. So if you get some greaves at level 45 and then you get some an armor at 50 and on and on and on, like by the time you get to the last piece of the set, the bottom piece is going to be worthless. So this is saying that even though they're spread out 15 levels, you can now upgrade the pieces to the highest level you have. That's good. So not only do you get the piece earlier and then the next piece, as soon as you get the second piece, the first piece can come up to the second piece's level. And once you get the third piece, the first and second piece can come up to the third piece's level. And then you can keep using the set at each level. That's great. I like that. It needed to happen, but I didn't see anything about it until now, so that's really good. Tuned high water mark, players' ability to earn items above their current gear score. Outcome rates, and introduced a floor, so items from powerful level 60 plus enemies won't drop at gear scores far below their power level. Alright, let's think about this one for a second here. Players' ability to earn items above their current gear score. Okay, so number one, they're saying that if you kill a powerful enemy, it's not going to drop low shit just because you're low. So that's good. There's going to be a lot of groups that are going to try to go and pick off high level enemies, even though they're way under leveled for them. Although I don't think that's going to work too well for people based on how they've changed mob power. But anyway, if you can pull it off, you're going to be rewarded. I don't know. This doesn't tell us in which direction. Tuned high watermark. Player's ability to earn items above their current gear score. Outcome rates. Tuned it how? Now, is that in general, or is it in relation to what the next line means? It says and. So I think that's its own thing. Tuned high watermark is different from introducing the floor. So they introduce the floor as one thing, and they've also tuned, but they won't tell you in which direction. Based on the fact that this is a buff, I'm going to guess that this is a buff. You see, they said tuned instead of adjusted. Tuned is buff, adjusted is nerf. I'm going to have like a little glossary after all of these patch notes. I have translated what Amazon actually means, people. And tuned is a buff, so we're going to say that it's a little more likely that you can get a higher gear score. That's what I'm going to go with on that point. The Tribal Loyalty Charm and Early Game Quest Reward now provides increased Constitution instead of Strength, so it's more universally applicable. Okay, yeah. Everybody needs Constitution, not everybody needs Strength. Good call. Okay, what are we on? We're on Crafting and Gathering. We got Titles, Achievement, a couple other things. Alright, we're almost there. We're almost there. Stick with me. Fishing. Updated piranhas. Oh god. Dragonfish, speartooth sharks, stingrays to salvage into fish guts with a chance to also grant an extra unique item for each fish, which can be used in alchemy. Okay, I love fish guts. I put some in my hair. Added the ability to combine lower tier gems into higher tier gems at the stone cutting station. Love that. I really like that. I love that they're like making gathering and crafting like there's no wasted resources. Like this is it's nice. You get a bunch of low level crap. You can still do something with it. You can upgrade it. Maybe it's a shitty ratio. It doesn't matter. At least you can do something with it. Players can now use any tier of solvent when refining gems. That's another benefit they've been doing with like some of the tertiary mats and stuff. Tuned repair kits, crafting costs. So tier 2, 3, 4, 5 now require these numbers. Repair parts to better align with the rate we see players acquiring parts in the alpha. T2 was increased from 40. T3 stayed the same. T4 was lowered. Tier 5 was lowered. Okay. Okay. So repair kits are just going to be not so painful to make. That's the way I read this. Like they're more in line. Um, this one had like the early ones had a bit of an increase, but the rest are stayed the same or got reduced. So it's easier to make the higher tier repair kits. I think that's good because the last thing you want to do in this game is spend your time, struggling to repair your gear. If you want to have a game that is as much of stress and pain as it is fun, then go play BDO. Reduce the wood requirement to make charcoal from 3 to 2. That's nice. You do need a lot of charcoal, so it's 50% easier to make now. That's good. Increase the raw resource refining cost of Tier 4 and Tier 5 refined resources by 50% and 100% respectively. Increased the refining cost. So you need to be better at refining to do these. For instance, star metal ingots now require 6 raw star metal instead of 4. Oh, it's the amount of metal, not the skill. Okay. So wow. So they're making it like this stuff's going to be so valuable. In order to get like a star metal thing going on, you're going to need so much star metal. You're going to be fucking rich if you can afford this stuff. Or can make that stuff. Which is good. I mean, end game gear should be hard to get and it should be worth a lot. That's just the way it should go if you want your game to last a while. Increase the resource cost of crafting epic crafting materials. Okay. So you need more resources for epic crafting materials. Slightly increase the drop rates and quantities of gemstones found in standard ore veins. Okay, so you get a little bit gems more frequently. You can also upgrade them, as we saw earlier. Remove the need for craft mods on the first tier of crafting trophies. Okay. And so you're going to need a bunch of elemental essences to craft the crafting trophies. That's the way I think it reads. I could be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. Normalize the rarity of all crafting mods to uncommon. I wonder what they were before. Honing stones can now be crafted in bulk. Okay, that's probably good. Milk now has a chance to be found in any provisioning container in the world, with a higher likelihood to be found in Windsward, Reekwater, and Brightwood. Okay, that's for your lore people out there. You should get milk from the areas with cows and other things that can be milked, like goats and mammals of all kinds. Removed food granting trade skill bonuses from large provision containers. These containers will continue to drop finished meals of the health and mana recovery variety. We believe this change will place a greater emphasis on either crafting these meals yourself or purchasing them from players who've crafted them. Okay, that's interesting. So, you eat some food, you're going to get some health or some mana. But some food give you trade skill bonuses. And what this is saying is, if you want to eat food that increases your trade skills, you're not going to find them in the open world. You got to make them or buy them. So that's interesting. I like this, and I'll tell you why. Even if you're not into crafting, or maybe especially if you're not into crafting, when you get food now, it's just going to give you health or mana. It's not You're not going to have to be like, oh crap, I ate the wrong food because that one I was supposed to save that one because I need to craft with that one, and that one gives me crafting buff, and now I've eaten it. And yeah, so I like that. It simplifies it. You're out in the wilderness, you're hunting, you're picking up stuff. You don't want to have to worry about which food you should eat now, which food you should save for later. Somebody like me forgets to use that stuff anyway. So now maybe you get to town, you're like, I'm gonna do some crafting. And you have like a little checklist on your forehead or like on your monitor saying like, idiot, before you craft, go and eat some of this food and buy this and do all that kind of stuff. So I think it just simplifies things, and I like that. Plus, there's going to be some value to people who are going to craft this kind of stuff. I'm probably not going to craft this kind of stuff. I'm the kind of person who would buy that. I'd be like, I want to do a bunch of, I don't know, armor smithing. So I need to do some smithing. I'm going to go buy some smithing food from somebody who's made it already. And that person gets paid off for their efforts. And I don't have to waste my time making it. So I like that too. Quintessences are now epic rarity. Okay, great. Oh, more titles. We've been working with the alpha community to refine and update the title system ahead of launch. Many players provided feedback that there were too many titles, and because of that, displaying a hard-earned title didn't feel special. I would agree with that. That is the number one problem with titles in every game. Some titles have been removed, and most will be earned only by completing high-tier achievements. If you see someone with a title, you know they've worked hard to unlock it. Perfect. I like that. You know, so many games are like, oh, you can make your unique title, and then nobody even reads them, and nobody cares, and everyone has a title, and it's just kind of whatever. I like this. This is good. A year from now, everyone will have a title, but still, at least it's like in the early days, it's kind of like, cool, that guy's a title. The title change UI now has a pronoun selector. Okay. I mean, I like it. It's very politically correct. It's good. Um, no harm done. No harm done. I'm surprised to see this in a game. This is gonna be the first game I've seen this in, but you know what? No harm done. I think it's very politically correct. Good on you, Amazon, for getting with the times. Yeah, I think that's great. Move titles down on the overhead nameplate to display on the same line as character's current company. Interesting. Why would you... So you're going to have your name, and then you're going to have your title and your company all in one line. Okay, I can see. Why didn't they give us a picture? I wish they'd given us a picture here. I don't know why they would do that. I feel like title should be above your name, and then your company. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It probably doesn't matter. This video is going long enough. I won't spend any more time on that. Players can now disable achievement notifications. Okay. Added Steam achievements. Completing some in-game achievements will also grant Steam achievements. Okay, cool. I like Steam achievements, sort of. I never really use anything with them, but I'm a completionist, so that's kind of nice. UX UI. The intro cinematic just before character creation has been updated with new dialogue that better sets up Captain Throp's story. Okay. The main menu now includes more streamlined flow when a player enters without an existing character, leading them right into World Select. Okay. There's now basic setting flow on initial character creation, which allows users to choose common setting and adjust the screen brightness. Okay, UI team focused on polish. 259 bugs. That's nice. Typing a direct message no longer makes the dot 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 bubble. Okay. No one will know you're chatting if you're directly talking to someone, so that your girlfriend can't be like, "Who are you talking to?" Chat now. Oh God. Chat now has a setting to display a dark background behind each message, making them easier to read. Okay. Group health bars now indicate disconnected status. Okay. I like that. You're like, yo, hurry up, and the guy's disconnected. Now you'll know. Enemy AI. Okay, this is what I really like. I've just glanced this here. Expeditions increase the damage of all expedition creatures by 10 to 20%, making them more challenging. Hooray! All the streamers said it was too easy. So now hopefully it won't be. Good. Updated Constitution have diminishing returns. Ooh, interesting. Previously started at 15 hit points per attribute point and would gradually increase to a cap of 34. So every time you put point into Constitution, it got more reward. Now it starts at 25 and decreases gradually down to 21. So that not much of a decrease. But look at this, 15 to 34. That's huge. Now it's 25, and then it actually goes down. Did this decrease the total hit point granted slightly? Okay. So overall, it's a nerf to hit points, but it's a nerf to all of us, so it's the same thing for everybody. Now increase the amount of HP players get at lower levels. Okay, the way I read this, you no longer have to max out your Constitution. Find a nice balance. Diminishing returns. Like before, look at this. Like you had to max that out. Like that was ridiculous. And now you don't. Right? In fact, you know, you have to find a good middle ground, but like it's going down and but not by much. But yeah, it's diminishing returns. Updated targeted healing. Pressing control while a heal is active is now automatically performing the self heal. Players no longer have to hold control before casting a spell. Okay, quality of life for clerics or whatever. For the life staff rather. So you're healing somebody and it's like ongoing and you're just gonna hit control and it's just gonna start healing you instead of somebody else. You don't have to hold it before to do yourself. You can do it at any time. I like that. That's cool. Like I say, quality of life. Anything that makes the user interface better and like your interaction with the game easier and make more sense. I like that. Great X. Executability now allows more rotation during startup. Okay, so you start doing an executability, which is a long wind-up ability with the axe. Somebody just moves, and it's super easy to dodge. So now you can change your direction a little more, so it's not so easy to move and dodge it. Holy bow change it. Reduce, 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 reduce. Hello, reduced. Hello, bow nerf. What is that? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven nerfs. The patch before closed beta, seven nerfs to bow. Well, if you're planning on playing bow, you can just throw that right out the window. Let's read them. Reduce, go the distance, evade, haste modifier. Ooh, are these all haste? Haste, 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 haste effect, haste duration, haste effect, slow modifier, slow effect, slow effect. So they're changing how much faster you go and how much slower you make other people go. This is interesting. So on the last video, if you watch my last video, they made a bunch of changes to movement, particularly in and around combat, and I was thinking that the bow might be buffed inadvertently by that because it has all these haste things, and I'm thinking that the haste would work whether or not you're running or walking. If you want all the details on all the movement changes, check out my video on the June Part 1 alpha notes. But basically, it's going to be harder to move when you're in combat, and you're going to be slower, and it's going to be hard to get away from melee. So I was like, well, the bow has a bunch of haste stuff, so it looks like they've nerfed the shit out of this. More than 50% nerf. That's a third of a nerf. Oh, from 5 seconds to 2 seconds. That's a huge difference. 50% nerf. And now your slows are worse too. And then, oh my god, look at this. First of all, knee shot is the stupidest fucking skill. You know how hard it is to shoot someone in the knee? It's hard enough to hit people. Never mind shoot them in the knee, but whatever. 20% for 3 seconds to 10% for 2 seconds. 50% nerf on the amount. 33% nerf on the duration. Ouch. I wasn't going to get that anyway if I was playing bow, but anyway. Huge nerfs on this. This was really the only reason I was going to consider playing bow after the last patch was the haste buffs, and now they're all super nerfed. Holy nerf on the bow. Okay. I mean, they already broke the bow with ruining split shot, and now they've nerfed the only good thing that was left. Alright, whatever. Nobody's... When no one's playing bow, you'll know why. Anyway, musket. Reduce muskets, back it up, trapper passive, haste effect. Okay, so here's another nerf to haste, so they've nerfed that by 67%. Ouch. Slow modifier nerf. So they've nerfed how much slows are slowing you, and they've nerfed how much haste is speeding you up, which obviously affects the bow more than anything, but the musket got one nerf there. Life staff. Orb of protection now heals over time instead of granting empower. Okay. So it's a hot instead of a buff. Sacred Ground now has increased healing. Increased healing buff. Flash of Light has increased base healing buff. Reduce life stat, balance protector, passive haste again, nerf. The haste is getting nerfed. No running around too fast, people. Life staff got a buff on its healing. Good. We want people to want to play life staff. Ice Gauntlet. So this is the newest weapon. So I was expecting more changes to it because it's been in the game at least and needs more balance. Let's check it out. Wind Chill. Remove pushback and increase damage 20% on the last 2 meters. The first 5 meters still cause pushback. Wow, that's such a huge buff if I'm thinking about this correctly. Wow, that's like a PvE buff for sure. So you'll no longer have pushback on the last 2 meters. So what does that mean? It means you're not going to push mobs out of your effective range, which is the problem with pushback, because you'll push them all the way out of damage. But now there's no pushback on the last 2 meters, so you're going to push them into your 2 meters, and you're still going to be hitting them. And it increases damage. That's a huge buff. I think Ice Golem is going to be super powerful. I would, if you're deciding on a weapon, I mean, from what I've seen, I think Ice Gauntlet is the way to go so far. All right, let's read the rest. Replace Shatter upgrade with Chilling Blast, so it's a name change, which increased the damage of the last 2 meters of the wind chill range. Oh, okay. The damage of the last 2 meters. I think we're missing a comma here. So these are buffs to wind chill. So they've replaced Shatter, which was the previous buff, with Chilling Blast, which is the new buff, again to wind chill. Increases the damage of the last 2 meters. I don't know why they have range on here. They changed the passive, they've increased the damage, and maybe the range? And range? They're missing another word in here. Okay, so anyway, another buff. Wind Chill got big buffs. Get Wind Chill. Ice Shower, increase Frostbite's default duration. Okay, so the slow lasts longer, buff. Increase the duration of Enduring Shower, the move itself, buff. Replaced Shower Slush with Shattering Powers, again, passive. Shattering Shower, Frostbite applies, Rend, buff. I don't know what this one was, I can't remember. Shower Slush, I mean. I don't remember what Shower Slush was. But Rend is nice. Reduce defense 10%, I like that. It's going to be good in PvE for sure. Reduce the range, okay, so that's a nerf. So, Ice Gauntlet, buff, 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 nerf, slight nerf. Ice Gauntlet, get it. Fire Staff, reduce Fire Staff combat speed, pyromancer, passive haste. Again, haste nerf. So they want the combat to be more melee friendly, and that's fine and all. Do you do it by murdering all the ranged characters though? I'm curious about this. I thought this was going to be kind of the unique aspect of having a bow, is that you would actually be able to maybe have an easier time escaping melee characters, but yeah, this is, I don't know about this one. Melee might be back on the list, or something like Ice Gauntlet where no one will want to get near you anyway. Alright, let's read the last sentence here. That's it for today. June updates have been exciting for us. We're polished tune. Finishing details finally start to come together. Hard work preparing for July 20th. Yeah, followed by open beta. Interesting. And our August 31 launch. Cool. Well, it's a lot of patch notes again. Bit of a mouthful. I think I like a lot of the changes here that they've done, particularly with the loot. And some of, like, this is nice, the fast travel one, and some of the loot stuff, the progression stuff, the crafting that they did. I love the loot and gear changes. That is the best part for sure. Like, great job on that. The rest of the stuff we'll have to kind of see. Titles, at least, are more useful, so good on that, I think, instead of having a million titles that mean nothing. The expeditions having harder enemies is great. We'll see about this one. I think it's actually probably a good thing, because trying to min-max Constitution and another stat is kind of annoying, so I think that's kind of a nice change. The bow nerfs piss me off, because I was going to play bow, and they keep getting nerfed and nerfed and nerfed and nerfed and nerfed and nerfed. I don't like that at all. Ice Gauntlet buffs I like. I'm probably going to play Ice Gauntlet. So there you have it. We're less than a month away from closed beta, so get your copy of the game so that you can play with me and everybody else. They are having an open beta as well, looks like, so we'll see some of that if you don't want to buy the game early, and then we'll look to release on August 31st. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit that like button, that sub button, and we'll catch you next time.